Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Delegate Reed Novotny. I always begin these things by saying I'm a husband, a father, current colonel in the Maryland Air National Guard, a current delegate, and hoping to be your next state senator. So my quick top priorities is making sure that we keep our communities safe. We've had a lot of bills that have come through Annapolis that I believe we need to work on in the next few years. We need to make sure we have tougher sentences for our repeat violent offenders. This is one of the reasons why I'm endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police and Governor Hogan. So I appreciate it and looking forward to your discussion.
Ms. Hester, you may proceed.
Thank you very much. My name is Katie Fry-Hester, and it's been my honor for the past 4 years to serve as a state senator for District 9. I'm an engineer by training and the proud mother of 2 teenage girls. I ran for office 4 years ago because I was really bothered by the divisiveness of national politics. And over my past 4 years, I've tried to build bridges and to just get good stuff done. I'm running for re-election because after the COVID-19 pandemic, we have so much more work to do. Work on job security, workforce shortages, education, health, and the environment. And I'm asking for your vote on November 8th.
Now we will move on to the question part of the forum. If you would like to respond, please raise your hand so that I can call on you in the order in which you are seen, okay? You will have 1 minute for each response. The timekeeper will let you know when 15 seconds is remaining and then when the time is up. So our first question is, what measures would you support at the state level to ensure that additional affordable housing units are created throughout the county?
I'll go first.
Thank you.
Is that okay? Okay, so this is an interesting problem, and I think that I think the biggest problem that we have right now is actually the inflation and the economy. Those are 2 things that I want to concentrate over the next few years. And I got an email from a Chris Johnson in Sykesville, and he sent me a note about a specific bill that we passed last year that I voted against about the Cooperative Housing Corporations, Condominiums, and Associations Reserve Study statewide. This bill actually made his condo fees go up 31%. That makes his condo unaffordable to him. And I think that is a problem. And this is a problem that we have in Annapolis, is that one size fits all, single party rule is actually causing problems, unintended consequences of good bills that they want to try to pass. So I want to make sure that we actually keep the cost of living down and the cost of housing down by doing things like voting smartly on these bills and not raising people's condo fees, as an example.
Thank you, Mr. Monty. Ms. Hessler?
Thank you for the question. Affordable housing is certainly a problem across the state, and there's no single silver bullet to achieve this goal. My very first bill in 2019 was to enable the county to reduce the aging in place tax credit for our retirees. This year, I voted for a budget that allocates nearly $300 million to a variety of programs and tax credits to assist first-time purchasers and home buyers. We also passed an innovative piece of state legislation to take our surplus state property and when it was sold at market, to put that money into a rental assistance housing fund. Looking forward, we need to keep looking at every single small way we can make housing more affordable. And in our district, one of the things that I've been working very hard on is septic systems. I think if we can look at how septic systems in the rural West can improve, and you could have more than one house on a lot, it makes it more affordable in all parts of the county. Thank you.
Okay. Next, how will you advocate to the state to address issues like food insecurity, increased needs for mental health support, and other crisis services? Mr. Novotny.
Yes, so food insecurity is a crisis here in Howard County, even though we are one of the richest counties in the nation. I believe that the government has a role in food security and providing assistance to those that need it, but I also believe it's a limited role. I believe in limited government but maximum community, and one of the great examples is the Indian Cultural Association. Throughout the pandemic, they've actually donated 2.5 million pounds of food, and this is a great example of community members taking care of community members. So I am a fan of making sure that we continue to support these community efforts and make sure that we have the ability to do that. During the pandemic, though, the mental health crisis that we had, I think actually got a lot worse because we kept our kids out of our schools. And one of the direct results of that is that we have more kids with mental health problems that are not being able to seek the proper support that they need. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hessler?
Thank you very much. Both mental health and food security were problems that were exacerbated by the pandemic. And during the pandemic, I worked with both the Howard County Co-Ed and the Carroll County Co-Ed to make sure that we got those services to the people who needed them most. When I came back to the state legislature, one of the first things that was very apparent was that we needed a state-level Maryland Food Security Council. And that council is composed of farmers, food banks, emergency managers, and we've been working across the state to come up with a solution so that we're stronger should anything else happen in the future. Mental health has also been a problem for some time. In 2020, when we were working on the Blueprint for Maryland's Future, I worked with a bipartisan group of senators to pass a 10-page amendment, which is going to work with Medicaid to leverage $300 million and more federal dollars to bring those down to our school systems. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, what are your budget priorities, specifically given the implementation of the new congressional amendment, which authorizes the General Assembly, when balancing the budget, to increase, diminish, or add items as long as the budget does not exceed the total proposed budget submitted by the governor? Mr. Novotny. Novotny.
You're the best. Don't worry about it. All right. So, hey, this is something we can fix. So the Republican caucus for the Senate actually came out about a week ago, and they said their number one, and I signed on to this, their number one priority in the upcoming 4-year session is to get rid of retiree taxes in the state of Maryland. I will continue to work toward this in the next 4 years, and this is why. We had an almost $8 billion surplus last year, and it just came out this week, we have an additional $2 billion. And that didn't come from printing money in Maryland. That came from 15.7% of personal income tax that rose year over year, sales tax 19.6% year over year, and corporate income tax 16.3% year over year. The point is, we have the money and we have the ability to give tax relief to our seniors, and that will be my number one priority. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hessler?
So the administration and General Assembly are constitutionally mandated to pass a balanced budget every year, so that's what we do. This year we had this $6 billion surplus, but times aren't always going to be this good. Therefore, we took the investment and we invested it as responsibly as possible. This included $1.3 billion in the Rainy Day Fund, forward paying our children's education through the Blueprint for Maryland's Future, cutting taxes for retirees and working families by $2 billion, and investing in things like cybersecurity, $500 million to protect state and local governments. Looking forward, my priority will continue to be passing a balanced budget to make the best for all Marylanders. We need to continue to ensure our economic, our community security, as well as our environmental security, and making it a safe place and an affordable place to retire here in Maryland.
Thank you, Ms. Hessler. For our final question, in your opinion, what should the state government do to prevent or mitigate the harms caused by climate change while respecting the needs and rights of developers and private property owners? Mr. Novotny.
Thank you. So I was proud of my record this year and last year. I was in the House of Delegates. I'm actually the 6th most conservative, I guess, in the climate arena on the Republican side, which is great. And I want to vote for bipartisan issues that will help our climate in Maryland. One of the things that I actually co-sponsored was the Chesapeake and Atlantic Coastal Bays 2010 Trust Fund use of funds. So basically what that said is if we're going to pass a law, we should actually pass a law that protects the environment but puts it in a lockbox, and we actually use that for the environment. One of the problems is in Maryland also, we're actually in an interstate pact with multiple different states. And as you've probably seen in the news, California is one of those states we're connected with. They actually passed a law banning gasoline cars in 2035. And the question will be whether or not we will do that here in Maryland. Even though I drive an electric car, I don't think they're good for everyone, and they're not affordable for everyone at this point. So we need to make sure that we're doing these things smart, we're doing them bipartisan, and we protect our environment without putting our residents at a disadvantage.
Thank you. Ms. Hester?
So as one of the most climate vulnerable states in the United States, climate change is already impacting us. Look at Ellicott City. I was proud to take a bold step and vote for the Climate Solutions Now Act, unlike my opponent. We went on from there to establish the Resilient Maryland Revolving Loan Fund, which will leverage up to $1 billion of federal funds to help prevent floods across Maryland. And then in 2022, after 3 years, we finally set up the Office of Resilience within the Maryland Department of Emergency Management to work really hard across the state to prevent future floods and other risks. Since I've been in office, we've brought home $42 million of state funding to prevent the Ellicott City flooding for the Safe and Sound Plan. And looking forward, I think that it's really incredibly important with all of the federal incentives right now that we work very closely with our federal delegation so that as much of that federally available money comes home to Maryland as possible.
Thank you, Ms. Hester. I want to thank both of you for your thoughts and responses. We will now allow each of you 30 seconds for your closing statements. Mr. Navalty, you may begin.
Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm looking forward to serving you over the next 4 years. One of the questions that actually didn't come up today was a question from this group in 2018 about gerrymandering. And I will read the quote from Senator Hester. I support the establishment of an independent redistricting commission that will be responsible for drawing congressional legislative district lines after each redistricting event or census. This is the problem. She broke that promise to all of you and voted for maps that will only help her in her re-election. Please vote for Reed Novotny on November 8th.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Navalty. Ms. Hester, you may proceed.
Thank you for reading my comment. I did say I support independent commissions, and I still do. So just going on, I'd just like to remind you that I've passed 25 pieces of bipartisan legislation to lower taxes, support our people here in District 9. We've managed to bring home over $230 million of capital to the district, and I hope that you will. I hope you'll trust me to represent you for the next 4 years as in State Senate in Annapolis.
Ms. Hester. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Hester. We appreciate both of you coming today.